Everybody, welcome back to another episode of DFS Fantasy NFL Picks for Week 5. I'm your host, Megalo31. A decent week last week, had some good picks, just not all in the same lineup. So was able to cash in some GPPs and in cash pretty easily, but I didn't have the nuts line because they weren't like all together in the right lines. So got another good week here, and this week's been pretty cool because we're a little bit more condensed, but it still feels like there's a lot of ways to go. We have a London game still, so the Bills and Jaguars are not on the slate. And then we have a couple bye weeks, so we're down to like 10 games here. So we're going to head into a streak where we don't have like that full like major slate of like 12 games on a Sunday. So let's just jump into it. And we have some injury news. I think I'm pretty much up to date on what we have, but we still got some questions out there. So first game we have is Houston Texans and the Atlanta Falcons. And it's 41.5 total. The Atlanta is favored by 2 at home. CJ Stroud on the Texans side, I have no problem playing him. And just keep in mind, if you're looking at the screen and saying, well, he isn't a player problem playing him, why is he not here? I'm not going to list every single player. The sheet is trying to condense like the top 3 in each range. You can make an argument for like the third and fourth person, and sometimes you'll see like in the running back when I had so many, I like to have like some slashes there for some more options. So I'm going to talk about some people that are not on the sheet, and it's just because the sheet's just kind of a snapshot. So if you hear something that you like, then just write it down or circle it or something. Sometimes, when I listen to things like this, I just like start to make some dummy lines for free and just like save them, and then I'll go back and refer to them. So for this Texas, like I said, Stroud, like I think he's off to an amazing start, doing well. Things are starting to come together. Like I'm not talking like a historic start, even though if he continues not to throw any interceptions, he might break some records. But he's got a decent receiving core with Collins and Tank Dell, and Woods was great the first 2 weeks, and then kind of fall off as Tank Dell started to take over. So definitely, some places that you can play there. Pierce is starting to come around. Like he was like such a high draft pick and season long just a couple years ago, and like so many people were like talking about him, and he just hasn't really put it together yet this year. But I think that it's coming. I don't know about Atlanta. Atlanta's okay against the run. And then Schultz at the tight end coming over from Dallas. He's starting to get more involved. But I think really from this game, if I'm taking anybody from the Texans, it's going to be Stroud, Collins, and Dell. On the other side, Ritter, I mean, he's cheap, but I don't know if I really want to play him here. He is a rushing quarterback, and obviously they have some designed runs and stuff for him. Their run first team, obviously, Bijan Robinson is probably one of the top plays on the slate if you can pay up for running back. Algier is still there, but not eating into everything as much as he did in week 1. Even with like Cordell Patterson back, he hasn't been a huge factor. So the wide receiver and core is pretty much a mess here. Like London and Hollins, like they've had good points in their careers, but just not. And I just think it's Ritter's accuracy is just horrible. I think that's why Kyle Pitts is really struggling too. But Jonnu Smith is really starting to come alive, and it's almost as like surpassed like Pitts as an option in fantasy. Like Pitts still has the explosion, and at 3-3, like if he just catches one deep ball, he's obviously going to pay off. So, but in a sense, you're pretty much it's boom or bust. You're punting tight end there. It's a GPP only play. Jonnu Smith, I mean, if in cash, I think you can get to him at 2.9. I have them both in the sub 3 category there. But again, they don't really like the pass here. There's more like runs. So from the Atlanta side, I think Bijan Robinson is the only one I'd pick, and maybe like Jonnu Smith if I'm in that range for a tight end. But I think there's other ones in that range that would be just as good. So not a ton of pieces from those games. Next game, Carolina and Detroit. This is my 5th favorite game of the week. It's a 44.5 total with Detroit being a 10-point favorite, but like Detroit's got a ton of injuries now. So I don't know if that's going to factor and make the game closer and the spread closer. So if you're getting 10 on Carolina, you might want to take that because the game might be closer than that, and the line might adjust in the morning. So on the Carolina side, Bryce Young not interested in. He's a decent college quarterback. He's got a lot to learn before he's an NFL relevant. Detroit's defense has been pretty solid, so I don't really like Sanders either. Thielen, I think you can play. His price is getting up slightly. He's 5-1. He's still cheap. Uh, Definitely a target. And definitely racks up the catches and stuff. No, it's not like really explosive plays, but I think he does enough to pay off his tag each week. Chark has caught a touchdown pass last week, but Mingo should be back and healthy, so I don't know how that's going to play into it. And then the rest of the wide receivers not interested at all. Hayden Hurst, the tight end. I mean, there's so many other options out there in the price range that would be such better. So again, so it just probably Thielen, maybe Shark here is all I'm really looking at the Carolina side of it. On the Detroit side of it, Goff's definitely in play here. David Montgomery is probably going to be a cash lock because Jahmyr Gibbs is doubtful now with a hamstring injury. And I don't think Craig Reynolds is going to come out and do much. I think Montgomery is just going to be like a bell cow and just, especially if they're ahead, just get like carry after carry after carry. And we've seen him have an amazing start to the season. Amon St. Brown is supposed to be out. He's doubtful also. Josh Reynolds is questionable. It's just, and he's been like questionable all season long. So what's wrong? Groin. I mean, he's played through most of them, but I don't know. Is it getting worse? Is it getting better? Not sure. So we have to keep an eye on that. So Khalif Raymond is definitely going to move up the depth chart and be something to look at. Marvin Jones is dust. I don't think, could he catch a touchdown pass at like 3K minimum there? Yes. And I think people will look at Jamison Williams. Like he was like the premier wide receiver off to a hot start last season. Then I think he got injured and then he got in trouble with like gambling on stuff, but it wasn't on NFL games. So they changed the collective bargaining and he was able to be reinstated earlier than he was originally suspended. So definitely think he's in play, but I don't know if he's like ready to be out there in a real game setting and to thrive. But the talent and the potential is definitely there. Someone to keep an eye on. But Sam Laporta at tight end is like absolutely rock solid here. So Montgomery's a lock. Goff, I think, is definitely someone you can look at. Laporta is definitely a great play in tight ends. And then if Reynolds is out, like Raymond definitely, and then Williams, some speculation on potentially. Next up, we have Tennessee and the Indianapolis Colts. This game has a 42.5 total. Tennessee is favored by 2.5. Tennessee side, the only one I'm really interested in potentially here is like DeAndre Hopkins, or the defense I think is going to be the absolute chalk against the Colts and Richardson. They're so cheap and they definitely can put up, even if they're like a lot of the Colts to score and stuff, they should be able to put up enough points with like sacks and potential turnovers and stuff to be able to pay off their very, very low price tag. So Tannehill not interested in, like he's just a game manager quarterback. Nothing explosive. He's not a running threat at all. Derrick Henry, I like him on FanDuel at times, but I usually fade him on DK. Like doesn't really catch the ball out of the backfield. He have 2 touchdown upside, yes, but this Colts defense has been more of a funnel defense where they play strong against the run and try to get you the pass. So that opens up things for Hopkins because Burks is out also, and maybe Westbrook. I can't even pronounce Nick Westbrook Akini could come into play here, but and Okoko, like I played him as tight end. There's so many other guys in the 3-2 range or less that I would rather play at this point in the season that I know actually will get results, and I'm not speculating that they might get results. So it's pretty much just Hopkins or bust for the Tennessee side of it. The Colts side of it, Richardson is always in play as a cash quarterback because he's got the rushing upside and they do design run plays for him. Jonathan Taylor's back in, but Tennessee does have one of the best rush defenses. But, if they're setting up against a run, it's different than or against a running quarterback. So Taylor, and actually signed an extension for like 2 or 3 years. So he's not going anywhere. He's going to be a Colt. I think they have things figured out. I don't know if both sides are settled or how it's going to work out, but I don't think this is the matchup to really try playing him. And Zach Moss with Taylor back, I don't think is playable either. So I am just Xing out all these Colts running backs. Wide receiver wise, Pittman really like. He and Richardson seem to have a good rapport, and then Downs. And Richardson know each other from college or they're roommates in spring training. There's some connection there deeper than just football. So I think, definitely in play also. And Pierce is just kind of out there. So Pittman down the wide receiver and Gregson, the tight end at 3K. Like here's someone that I do like because Richardson does use him as a safety valve and he can rack up the catches at 3K and maybe catch one in the end zone. So lots of Colts pieces that I like here. And if I'm doing a stack, I'll just run it back with Hopkins. So if you want to go Richardson, Pittman, Downs, or Gregson there, and then run back with Hopkins, that's perfectly fine with me. Next up, we have Miami Dolphins and the New York Giants, 48.5 total. Miami is supposed to blow them out by over 10 points. So if you look at the bottom, you're like, this is a 48 total. Why isn't it in your game stacks? Well, it's because I don't really feel that in a competitive game that I can really stack it because we saw what happened when Tua and Hill went off against Denver. Like they didn't really score that many points because there was like so many people scoring and things were so spread out. And then by the fourth quarter, it was just like, all over. They didn't have their foot on the gas anymore. So I think Tua is definitely in play in cash, but I just like other quarterbacks better because he doesn't really have any rushing upside. Uh, the Ahmad went on the IR and Jeff Wilson's not back yet. So Mostert's the lead back, but they have Akane like listed as like the number one back in some places. So I know he's got talent. I think they're just kind of like 1A. This is kind of like, like probably going to turn into a split. Like was it like TK Barber and Ron Dane where they had like Thunder and Lightning and the Giants backfield there where they had two running backs with two different styles. Like most of it's probably gonna be like the thumper and Akane is going to be more like the catch ball in the backfield. So both of them in play. We saw what happened. Both of them playing against a really bad defense in Denver, and I think the Giants set up almost the same. So I think you can play both of them. Wide receiver wise, you have Tyreek Hill there, who's definitely going to be very popular to pair with Tua. Waddle, I like just a discount on him there. Smythe, the tight end, I kind of off him now. They did trade for Claypool. I don't think he's going to be active this week yet, but when he gets in there, we'll have to see how that plays into things. Does that take out Barrios or somebody else? So with the Miami side of it, definitely to the running backs definitely play Hill, Waddle. I think that's where I'm looking, but I don't know if I could play him in cash just because if it's going to be a blowout, are they going to be able to reach their full potential? So I think out of all of them, Waddle would be my favorite play. On the Giants side of it, Daniel Jones is usually in play. The Dolphins don't have a great defense. They're good against the run. They're bend but don't break against the pass. Obviously, that didn't work out too well against Buffalo because Buffalo did have a lot of deep plays against them. I said don't play Davis last week because he is the Buffalo deep threat and Miami's going to keep things underneath. So Diggs is definitely play, and I believe Davis had like a long touchdown catch. So I don't know. And Miami's had some injuries and stuff. So I don't think Barkley is going to play. I was reading the New York Post today and it said that he's pretty much doubtful for the game. So Breida is probably going to be the running back with some Brightwell. Neither one of them have done much. So Daniel Jones is probably the primary running back. Wide receivers like Waddell Robinson, he just keeps on moving up the depth chart and keeps on getting plays for him, and he's like 3K. So I think he's going to be very, very popular and chalky and maybe a cash game staple for a lot of people. Just at that price point, he doesn't need to do much, and they run a lot of plays for him. And Miami has given up plays underneath. Like I said, they're a bend but don't break defense, so that he's the perfect one to catch a lot of balls underneath and might have a great game. And then Waller, and we keep on waiting for him to have that breakout game. 5.4 is a lot to pay for tight end, but there's really not much to pay up for. So if you're not playing Kels, Hawkinson, or Andrews, I think he's definitely, or Laporta, I think between those four, he's like a pivot off of the pay up ones. So again, I think it's going to be a blowout. So they'll probably be passing to try to keep up. So like like Robinson, any of the other Giants like wide receivers is like a scratch off lottery ticket. Congratulations if you pick the right one, you're the winner. We're not touching the running backs. So, but again, with the blowout, I'm just kind of apprehensive and playing too much in this game other than GPPs. Saints and the Patriots, close game here, 40 total, which is one of the lowest on the slate, one of the lowest we've seen this year. And it's a 1 point favorite from the Saints. So Derek Carr, I didn't think he was going to play last week. We thought it was going to be Jameis Winston, but he did come out and he just, with a shoulder injury, he just can't throw the ball as far. So I am going to cross out Olave because I just don't think he can throw the ball deep. Shaheed's more of a punt returner and stuff, and the kid's got blazing speed, so I think he's going to have some big games, but you're never going to know which one. But Michael Thomas, I think, is definitely in play because he's more of the volume guy, catching the balls in like the mid range and not like the deep threat. So his catches usually add up. But Kamara had like what 7 catches last week, I think. I mean, that's like more than like some wide receivers. So Kamara last week in his first week back had 51 rushing yards and 11 attempts, and he had 13 receptions for 33 yards on 14 targets. A running back had 13 receptions. That is crazy. So I'm definitely going back to the well on him. I think, again, with Carr's shoulder, like he's checking down and he's the perfect check down. Juwan Johnson might also, let me just make sure he's in and not out injured. No. Okay, Juwan Johnson's out. So Taysom Hill. I mean, I don't have him on the sheet, but I might consider him here because if he is checking things down, like Taysom Hill can score in so many different ways, rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown, a receiving touchdown. So I think, now that I see that Johnson's out and know that Carr's can be checking things down, I might play some Taysom Hill. Plus, if Carr gets banged up and Winston comes and like does horrible, then he's the third string quarterback and he's going to get some play there. So it's never bad to have Taysom Hill in at least one lineup every single week. So those are the pieces there. I'm not taking Carr, but Kamara I like, Michael Thomas I like, and Taysom Hill, YOLO. On the Patriots side, I don't know if I really want anything. Stevenson is banged up. We thought Ezekiel Elliott would have a great game in a revenge game against Dallas, and he's starting to get some more carries. So if Stevenson's out, I think Elliott at 4.7 is definitely intriguing. The whole wide receiver core is a hot mess, and Hunter Henry, I think, is like the most sure thing on this team. But you still have Gesicki there too, who's a really good receiver, and he's poached some touchdowns from Hunter Henry. So this Patriot team's just a mess. I like the New Orleans defense here, and maybe the New England defense as a punt if it's going to be a really low scoring game and Carr's not going to be able to really throw the ball very far. Great pairing is Kamara and the New Orleans defense, of course, there too. Okay, so now the lowest total of the week is going to be the Ravens and the Steelers with like a 30% chance of rain here. 38 total, Baltimore's favored by 4. So for Baltimore, they're my favorite team in football. Lamar Jackson, I'm okay with, but I think he's a naked play here unless you maybe pair him with Andrews because it looks like Bateman and Beckham are going to be back. So that waters down Waters Flowers. That's kind of funny, unintentional. That waters down Zay Flowers. Gus Edwards looks like the running back, but Justice Hill might be back. Melvin Gordon looks like he's going to be inactive, but Lamar is definitely the goal line back. So, like, what do you do here? Besides Lamar Jackson, this team has they get it done. They get it done ugly, but you just don't know who it's going to be or like what they're going to do. Are they going to run it? Are they going to pass it? Who's going to run it? Who's going to catch it? Probably going to be more like play good defense, play field position, and probably their best offensive player besides Lamar Jackson is Tucker, their kicker, and you can't play them outside of showdown. So on the Pittsburgh side of it, Pickett's banged up. I don't know if he's going to play. Probably will, but I don't think. And Pickens, the wide receiver, was banged up a little bit too. Frymuth is out with an injury, so Darnell Washington's the lead tight end, but I don't think he's going to score any more than 60K points. Calvin Austin looks like a nice young player, a deep threat. So if Pickett was fully healthy and it wasn't against the Ravens don't really scare me as much as they used to on defense, but I don't know. I just 17 total. I just don't like really anything from this game. Weather condition with the rain, I'm just probably going to cross it off. And if somebody catches lightning in the bottle by picking one of these players and takes down the millionaire maker, then good for you. I just don't see any equity really in this game outside maybe Lamar Jackson. Bengals and Arizona Cardinals. This game I do see a lot of juice from. It's third favorite game on the slate here. Cincinnati is favored by 44.5 total. Bengals side with Joe Burrow. Obviously, he's still injured with a calf injury, but he's still playing through it. And I think they're trying to figure out how to do with him. So I think the biggest news here is T. Higgins has a rib injury. Is he going to play? If he does, one hit he might be out again. So Jamar Chase has just been phenomenal. They're using him for the slot and all kinds of short passes and stuff, and just has become such a volume receiver. And you get such a nice discount from him, from Hill and from Jefferson, and even Cooper Kupp that's back in the mix now. I believe he's cheaper then. So I really like Jamar Chase and cash. Tyler Boyd, I think, makes a lot of sense also coming into the mix. And will Trenton Irwin maybe step up? And we saw that last year. It was some unknown guy I remember came into the fold, like when one of these guys maybe it was Chase was out, and all of a sudden like it was like this guy just went ham as like the third wide receiver. I can't remember who it was, but I don't mind the tight end on for Cincinnati either. Irv Smith, I mean, he played on Minnesota and was a decent receiving tight end. So, definitely a check down option too for Burrow to play. I mean, Hudson was the one that I used to like, but I don't see him even. Yeah, he was sent to the practice squad, which is crazy because Hudson was like a great target for Burrow. So Irv Smith Jr. would be the option if you want to play tight end. So I don't mind playing Burrow here. I think you can play him in cash with just the way the Arizona defense has been against the pass, and love pairing with Chase. And I think Mixon is also in a smash spot here. To Cincinnati defense, if you don't believe that the Cardinals are who they've risen up to be in the last couple weeks, putting some points up, then they're definitely in play too, and like pair them with Mixon, and that just works with the game flow. The defense shuts them down, and then Mixon just runs the ball to run out the clock, and the points just keep on accumulating for you. On the Cardinals side, Dobbs, I think, is definitely in play here. Connor's old, but Cincinnati has not had a great run defense. So I think he's in play at 5'8" there. Marquise Brown, I really like. Michael Wilson has really stepped up and become a decent target, and he's pretty cheap too. So definitely somebody else to look at 3.7. Doesn't need to do much, and if he catches one touchdown for you, it opens up so much more salary for you, and just those points are just crucial. And Zach Ertz, I think, is going to be a very popular tight end. He has had the most targets. I think he and Kelsey have had the same amount of targets this season. Not that he's caught as many balls as Kelsey or gets as much yardage, and again, he's a little over the hill also past the prime of his career, but I think a lot of people gravitate towards him, and he's cheap also at 3.5. So, definitely be in play. So yeah, a lot of nice pieces for this game, and to stack it up, you can take either QB. I think Chase and Brown would be the other two pieces, but you can also mix in Mixon with that too. Eagles and Rams. Here's my second favorite game of the week, 50.5 total. And Philadelphia is only favored by 4.5. That might just be an indictment of how tough Washington played them and last week, but they have a decent defense. They obviously have a really good, solid offense. They're not dealing with a ton of injuries that I'm aware of. So I think they should definitely have a decent game. And the Rams aren't like the Rams that they were when they went to the Super Bowl a couple years ago either. So, but there's definitely some good pieces in this game. Hurts obviously as a rushing quarterback, you can play in cash in all formats. It definitely has the rushing upside and the passing upside. Swift, I think, definitely with the whole backfield has established himself as the lead back here. So I think after 4 weeks of data, we can safely play him. The wide receivers get a little bit goofy here, like Brown and Smith. Like you never know who's going to have the hot hand. Like Brown should be the one, but there's been some games where he's getting shut down, and Smith just takes over. Even Zacchaeus lurking in the background, we've seen catch some balls. Goddard really hasn't gotten going, but this would be a great matchup to probably do it because the Rams I believe aren't that great against tight ends. So lots of different plays here. Hurts, Swift, figure out which wide receiver. I'd probably rather pair I'm okay just playing Hurts alone actually in this matchup, but I might throw like Goddard in there to pair with him cheaper than like Brown and Devonta Smith, because especially in cash games, like it's more a GPP build if you're trying to figure out which one of those wide receivers. So on the Rams side of the ball here, Stafford definitely is going to be throwing the ball. He's cheap at 5'6", so he'll definitely be in play. Kyren Williams, the Eagles have a decent run defense. So I think his upside is more that he is pretty much the lone back in the backfield. I mean, Ronnie Rivers is there and we'll get some of the workload, but Williams is definitely the guy, can catch balls out of the backfield. So if they're trailing, then I think, that takes running out of the equation, but he can still score points as a running back, catching the ball. 2, Cooper Kupp is back. Now, there's rumors that he was going to kind of be on like a snap count here, but the coach said earlier in the season, like right at the end of the preseason, that when Kupp came back, he wasn't going to play him until he was 100%. So does that mean that he's 100%, or does that mean that he's going to be limited? I don't know. 8,600 is a lot to pay to find out. So in the GPP, definitely play him, put him in there. Probably going to have low ownership because everybody in that price range is going to be going Chase, going to be Joan Jefferson, is going to be going Hill. But, if he has the breakout game and if Cooper Kupp becomes Cooper Kupp and he keeps on catching balls, now, he has like some other good wide receivers, and we also saw like when it was Kupp and Robert Woods there, Woods still was a good fantasy wide receiver, even with Kupp there, because there was a lot of opportunity that Kupp brought opening up opportunities. So I think Kupp is probably going to be in the slot. Nakua is probably going to be on the outside. And Atwell, I think, is still worthy as a dart in deep GPPs because I think he can still catch the deep ball. I think Van Jefferson's the one that's going to evaporate into nothing. Really hasn't made the most of opportunities, and I don't think that he's going to play. So Atwell is really risky. Nakua, I think, is still solid, and Kupp is definitely a GPP play. Higbee might be another collateral damage here. Like he's been getting more involved in the offense. We'll have to see if he stays involved with Kupp, but I think there's a lot of great pieces from this game. And if I'm playing it, I probably would take either quarterback. If you want to save some money, obviously you're taking Stafford, but if you take Hurts, then I probably take the running backs to make the build. But if you want, if you want like more of a safer build, but then like whatever wide receivers you think are going to work out in your GPP build, and maybe play around in like $1 or like 50-cent, 25-cent, which is for fun. So like take Hurts and Brown and Kupp, and then Hurts and Devontae Smith and Kupp, and then Hurts and Brown and Nakua. Like just keep on rotating different combinations, throw in other core cash plays that are cheap to make the lineup work. And then if you hit the right combination, then hopefully that shoots you up the GPP. Another game here that you wouldn't think would be on the list for the top games of the week, but this one falls at number 4 in my rankings: the Jets and the Broncos. And we see like the Broncos just give up points. They got destroyed by Miami. The Bears put a smackdown on them. So Zach Wilson started to play with a little more confidence in the Monday night game, and I think that this is a great matchup for him. Breece Hall, I think, is going to be one of the chalkiest running backs on the slate because they said that his snap count is off now. He's definitely exceeding Delvin Cook and Michael Carter there. They're just there. Like, this is Hall's team. He is explosive. He is a playmaker, and I think they're going to start using him like that. Garrett Wilson is definitely going to be a very chalky wide receiver because he's in a great matchup here against Denver. If Zach Wilson can ball, but again, he's just showed like amazing skills so far. And then I think don't count out Lazard either. Lazard is a really good wide receiver and made some really good plays to fight for the ball and go back to the ball and to get himself open when Wilson was in trouble, to scramble around to get into an open area to make some catches. So don't write off Lazard. And if you want to, like, obviously Hall's going to be chalk. So, if you're building with the Jets and go Wilson, maybe skip Hall and go Zach Wilson and Garrett Wilson, or then maybe even skip Garrett Wilson in a build and just throw like Lazard in there. And I think Conklin, the tight end, is a safe one also. Although CJ Uzman has also had some catches and I believe maybe at least one touchdown this season too. But primary for the Jets, Wilson, the quarterback, super cheap at 4.9. Breece Hall is going to be probably a lock in cash at 5.4. Wilson, the wide receiver at 6K, is a great price. Lazard, consider. Conklin, consider. The Denver side of it, I don't know. They have such a great passing defense that I don't know if I want to play Russell Wilson here. Javonte Williams is banged up, but I will not play. McLaughlin has surpassed Samaje Perine as the running back last week when Williams got down. I don't know whether that's just game script or what's going on, but we're assuming that McLaughlin is going to be the lead back here. He's priced like that. So I think in GPPs, either one could potentially go because the Jets haven't been as good against the run if they haven't against the pass. Wide receivers, I mean, if you're going to run it back here, I think Sutton's my favorite one. I mean, Judy's there, but I don't think he's 100%. Mims was supposed to be getting more involved in the offense. We have yet to see that. And then the tight end, until their main guy comes back, like, I really don't like any of the ones. Troutman's more of a blocker. He's not really a pass catcher. So probably going to fade Denver unless I'm running it back. And if I do run it back, it'd probably just be with Sutton. But lots of cool plays on the Jets this week. And I think you can play the Jets defense. And I think you can take a shot in like Denver's defense if you're punting also. So final game on the slate, this went by quickly because we don't have as many games, is Kansas City and the Vikings. And this is the juiciest matchup of the week. Kansas City is favored by 4 points. It is 52.5 total. This game should have a lot of offense. So I would definitely fade both defenses here. Patrick Mahomes, here's a hard one here because Patrick Mahomes can score in so many ways, but who's he going to throw it to? Like, who on this is just like the Giants. It's like the scratch off lottery tickets. It's like kind of like Detroit too, where you just don't know, if with St. Brown out, like, where's Detroit going to go? Like, so Rice, I think, has the most targets. Sky Moore has like the most talent and speed. And then you have all these Scanlon and Tony that can just get in the way and catch balls, and any of these guys could randomly go off. So it is just so hard to pin it down. Kelsey is just not really played as well as we thought that he would have this season, but I think he'll definitely get there. Remember, he was coming off like an injury in week 1, so I think the more healthy he gets, always a threat. But there's not others really to pay up for on this slate. So if you can figure out in cash, that's fine. But again, I don't think you need to pair Holmes with somebody. But I think Pacheco has really established himself. I think they're running a lot more than they have in the past. And Pacheco definitely is the number one back here. So I think he's definitely could be in play. So if you just wanted to go Mahomes Pacheco and you can't figure out who he's going to throw to, and it's going to be like kind of with the days with Tom Brady on the Patriots, where he would spread it all over the field. So like it wouldn't make sense to pair a wide receiver ever with him because you never knew which one was going to get it. But Tom Brady's going to throw for like 5 or 6 touchdowns and 400 yards. Same thing with Mahomes here. On the Minnesota side of it, Kirk Cousins definitely in play here. If you're stacking this game, he's much cheaper than Mahomes to put, and he could definitely potentially match him in output also. Madison, I don't really like his running back, like not because Cam Akers is there and going to eat into him, but he's just has been underwhelming, and they just have so many. They're going to be behind probably, and they're just going to need to throw the ball. So Justin Jefferson is this absolute target monster. Really like him. Addison also is another potential one. He's only 5'3". He seems to have become the wide receiver 3 in here because Hawkinson, the tight ends, obviously like the wide receiver 2. If you look at targets and how they use them, so just so many different ways. So I think you could take either quarterback with this one, and then I think I go run it. I think if I'm building a 3-person stack, I'd take Cousins or Mahomes, and then I'd either go Jefferson and Pacheco, or Kelsey and Hawkinson. I think they kind of balance. There's probably about the same price point if you play those ones balance. It's really hard if you go like Mahomes, Kelsey, Jefferson. Like you're going to be playing like the rest of your lineup is just going to be disgusting. So I just don't think that's the way. If you can make it work in a GPP, God bless you. But I just don't think that's very viable. So looking at the sheet here, quarterback, we have Hurts, Mahomes, and Lamar. Medium range, Richardson from Indianapolis. Tua, just doesn't have the running upside. That's why I kind of have him down there, but he definitely could throw 4 or 5 passing touchdowns. And Cousins in this game, Burrow, Stafford, and Zach Wilson, the cheap. And I'm fading Carr with his shoulder, Pickett with his injury against Baltimore defense, and Russell Wilson against the Jets defense. For running backs, Robinson for Atlanta is my favorite if I'm paying up. Montgomery's an absolute lock in cash. Mixon and Kamara are definitely great. Kamara's better on DK with all those catches. Not as great on FanDuel, but even if he gets half as many catches, like 6 or 7 instead of 13, that's awesome. And then Williams from the Ram, tough matchup, but I think he's definitely in consideration there. In the medium range, Swift from Philadelphia, Pacheco, Connor, and Madison. I don't really love that. Probably the top 3 here, but Madison I think is definitely in play in a game that's going to have a lot of scoring in it. Cheap Hall from the Jets is definitely a lock on DK. He's priced up appropriately more on FanDuel. Pirine and McLaughlin, whichever one is going to start there, is definitely a dart. And then Sanders maybe for Carolina. I don't like Henry, except for maybe on FanDuel. Taylor, I'm not touching, or Moss from Indianapolis, and Breida in place of Barkley. Not interested in that matchup either. Top receivers, obviously, going to be Jefferson, Hill, Chase, and A.J. Brown. I think I like Chase the most out of them. Just price points per dollar. Nakua, I think, is definitely still in play, even with cut back. Devontae Smith, Waddle, and Pittman. I think I like Pittman if I'm paying Richardson, and Waddle, I think, is a nice cheap way to get exposure to that Miami game also. And then, but I think I'm going to live here in this 5 to 6K range. Wilson from the Jets, Marquise Brown, Hopkins, Thielen. I love all of them. If I could play all 4 of them in a line, I definitely would consider it. Some sub 5K guys want to Robinson's like minimum price for the Giants. Definitely in play, doesn't need to do much. Raymond's from Detroit if all those guys are out. Wilson from Arizona has looked good, and Boyd if Higgins is out for Cincinnati. High-end tight ends, Kelsey, Hawkinson, and Andrews. Laporta, I think I really like. Waller and Goddard. That medium range has some nice matchups there too. Cheap one, Ertz, Higbee, and Henry. Don't really love them, but they're there, and I think they'll be quite popular. But the Conklin, Pitzer, Smith, or Gregson, if you need to go sub 3.5, then they work also. Defenses, Tennessee and New Orleans, my favorite. If you have the money to pay up, Miami and Baltimore are great. Punts would be Denver, Pittsburgh, and in plays Arizona, Indiana, Indianapolis, and I'm not playing Minnesota, the Giants, or KC either. So, and I talked about the stacks there. So I am going to let me move over here and look at the builds, and I'll get you on the way for your weekend. So, Burrows or Richardson in cash for DK. If you can get up to Hurts, I'm perfectly fine with that. Also, Mahomes, Lamar are great, but this is the range that I really want to live in. Cousins, I can understand too, but Montgomery and Kamara and Hall, I want all three of those in my lineup. I'm not negotiating. Those are the three running backs that I'm going to play. And then I really want Chase as the wide receiver, and Tennessee or Pittsburgh with the tight end for defense. And tight end, it depends on like how much you have from like your quarterback and your other wide receivers, but I'm probably going to end up in the medium or cheap range for that. FanDuel, I can get up to Hurts and get Robinson and Hall. I don't like Kamara and Montgomery as much. Montgomery is priced up there because I think they like kind of knew the situation, and Kamara doesn't catch as many balls. So give me Brown, and then I'm going to take one of the studs, Chase, Jefferson, or Hill there, and Tennessee defense, and then I'll fill in the rest with some of the cash plays that I've talked about. GPP for DK, I'm going to take the Jets stack of Wilson, Conklin, the tight end, and I'll probably take Wilson, the wide receiver there also. I might take a shot at Cooper Kupp here. If not, then you can just take another high-priced guy there. And Wendell Robinson's like dirt cheap, so throw him in there in the Saints defense. And then for GPP on FanDuel, give me Richardson, Pacheco, Montgomery. I'll pay up for him in a GPP. Pittman to match with Richardson, Hopkins run it back with Baltimore and Miami defense, and then fill in the rest. So that's what I got for you. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat below. You can hit me up at MegaRoar31 on Twitter or X. My DMs are open. If you want more information on FSI DFS to get all like the cores for the showdowns that we do that we don't cover with videos, and like all the changes that are going to go, because these aren't the official cores. Rob and Jay Scott, and so we throw some other cores out there for you also. So very, very reasonable package. So you can go to the description of the video and you can get to the link to their website to go sign up for that. Also, if you're interested, we have free postseason baseball and NHL for a couple more days before the season starts. McKinley is excited to get that season started, and the packaging is really inexpensive for that too, and he does a really, really good job covering that. Plus soccer's been going pretty well too, so got a lot of cool things going on at FSI, so check it out. And if these videos help you, and you already helped by watching this far, you can help us back by liking the video, subscribing to our channel. Getting so close to having 2450. Was hoping to get 2500 by the end of the year, but I mean, that's still possible. We don't need too many more, but please subscribe if you haven't. It'll just help you know when these videos are coming out, and please feel free to share with your friends. If if this information is helpful to you, then you can share it with them to help them out also. So thanks for watching. Good luck in your contests. Monday we should have a showdown video, and Thursday for those slates. So stay tuned to our channel for more content. And again, thanks for watching. Hope you have an amazing weekend. Good luck in your contests. I'll see you next time.